Hey guys, Pitmaster here. Recap on UFC 188, which happened last night. Verdum beat Velasquez for the title, heavyweight title, third round guillotine. And then Eddie Alvarez beat Gilbert Melendez in a very close split decision. Glasgow Kelvin beat Nate Marquardt. I think it was at the end of the first round. And then some new guy, Rodriguez, he might not be really that new, but he's new for me, beat a guy, Charles Rosa from American Top Team in the fight of the night. Unbelievable. It was a good card. Not a great card, and I'll tell you why I think so in a sec. But right now, what I mainly want to talk about from UFC 188 is four lessons from that I took away from that fight. First lesson: altitude matters. I don't like altitude. I don't think the fighters should have to be subjected to it. I mean, a mile high. This is a fucking mile and a half high. I mean, Mexico City is a mile and a half high, and I just don't think it's. I don't think fighters should have to worry about that. They have enough things to worry about. They got to cut weight now. They have to just cut crazy weight. They have to, put on a great show. They have to get in shape. They have to work on their submission defense. There's so much a fighter has to worry about. I don't think you should have to worry about fighting in fucking altitude. It's because it's a skill, and some people can do it better than others. So I don't think it's a fair playing field. And even if two guys, train at sea level and fight at altitude, it's not even a lot of times because everybody deals with altitude different. So you're not just getting the best fighter of the two, you're getting the guy that can deal with the altitude better as well. So I don't think that factor should have to factor in to especially a title fight. It shouldn't come into play. Velasquez is from frickin' San Jose. He's from sea level. He shouldn't have to go up a mile and a half of altitude to prove that he's the best fighter because he didn't deal as well as Verdum did with the altitude. I'm not taking anything away from Verdum. He might have been able to beat him in sea level too, but it wasn't at sea level, and it was obvious to everyone there that Velasquez was having a majorly hard time dealing with the altitude. And he's one of the best conditioned fighters ever, probably the best heavyweight fighter ever. So, he's known for just going all 5 rounds nonstop. But somewhere at the end of the first or the beginning of the second, you could tell he didn't start gassing out. He hit a wall hard. And that's an altitude sickness a wall. And once you hit that wall, there's no coming back. No matter how good a shape you are, if you can't deal with the altitude, then you can't deal with the altitude, and it's going to affect your performance in a very negative way. And I just don't think it's something that you should have to. If you're from Mexico City, maybe, and you have the title, maybe guys should have to come challenge you for your title up there. But with 2 sea-level guys, I don't think it's a fair thing, and I think it was a factor in the fight, and I think it was an unfair one. So yeah, altitude matters. I think the same thing with Gilbert Melendez. Eddie Alvarez looked great, and maybe he could have beat him at sea level. They're both from sea level, but it was obvious in that fight that Eddie Alvarez dealt with sea level better. So there's no explanation for it, and it shouldn't affect the outcome of a fight. Who can deal with sea level better? So I didn't like that. I don't think it's fair. It's not making one guy better than the other. It's just saying one guy deals with sea level better or altitude better. Sorry. So I don't think that's fair. So anyway, that's my take on the altitude thing. And they live at sea level, fight at sea level. He shouldn't have to go up a mile and a half to defend his title. So that's my take on that. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, I don't like all the nationalism, like, oh, Mexico, this is a Mexico fight, so it's going to be all Mexican fighters against other. I think that takes away from the card, takes away from the matchmaking of it, and it just, to me, it limits it, and I don't like it. It's just like, I can see if like, and we talked about this in our podcast, you know, like say McGregor's gonna fight, so they put the fight in Boston or maybe Ireland, so boom, you know, that's great. But every fighter on the card doesn't have to be an Irish guy fighting a non-Irish guy. You know, this fight last night was like, oh, Mexicans against non-Mexicans. I don't know. It's not the Olympics. I don't think they should have to do that. And I don't like that nationalism twist to the fights. You know, I see it for the champion defending, you know, then that's one thing. But I don't think the whole card should be divided like that. I think it's kind of silly and I don't like it. Lesson number 3. Good corners. Okay, good corners can make or break the fight. Good cornering. The corner is very important. Sometimes not as much. I admit that. Some guys come to the corner, you know, all they want is water. They know exactly what they're going to do. But sometimes just that little bit of motivation or advice can make the difference. One thing you have to do is you have to trust your corner. Okay, and that's a very important thing. That's, you know, something built over time. But I saw a couple corners that were really quiet when their opponent was losing, when their fighter was losing. I mean, sometimes you need to put light a fire under their ass to get them motivated. You know, it's not asking them questions like, how you feel? You gonna do this? How's everything? You know, I just don't think, you know, I think that's okay if the guy's winning and you're trying to give him some really tactical advice. But if he's losing, hugely losing, and he needs to knock the guy out the last round, it's not time to be quiet and subdued and get introspective. How you feeling? What do you want to do? Yada, yada. I think it's time to light a fire under his ass and do or die. He's got to knock him out this round to win. There needs to be a sense of extreme urgency. Okay? So that's how I feel about that. Number 3. Good corners are very important. Okay? I'll give you a great corner last night was when Markor went back to after the second round. He was done. He was done. But he would have gone back out because he's a fighter. And the referee didn't stop it, which I thought he should have. But I think he's a really good referee, Dan Mergliotti. I think he's a great referee, and he was there closer than I was. But I think it proves that I was right because the fight was stopped in the corner. So obviously he was done. And I think there was a couple punches in there where the referee should just save the fighter from having to quit himself. Because a lot of corners aren't good enough they'll just push him out. And then all of a sudden this guy's taking such unnecessary punishment and it takes from his manhood. And I know that sounds like I'm over saying it, but I think it does. So I think Marcor's corner did a great job by, as soon as he saw him in the corner, he goes, this fight's over. It's done. He took the initiative. He showed caring and love for his fighter and stopped the fight, and I respect that a lot. So my 4 takeaways. Altitude does matter. I don't like nationalist fights, dividing one nation against another or against others. Good corners are very important, okay? That's my 3 things. 4th thing I'm going to throw in here, don't blow your nose if you got hit in the face really hard. Okay? Even if you don't have a huge black eye or whatever, if you were hit in the face, don't blow your nose because like you saw with Eddie Alvarez in the first round, your nose is going to blow up. Happens all the time. I've seen it happen in the gym. I've seen it happen, in fights. But if you get any kind of damage to your face, it causes damage to the tissue, and you blow your nose, the back pressure will make your eye puff up like you saw last night. Anyway, that's my hints. That's my 4 takeaways from UFC 188, and I'll see you guys later.